How are we going to simplify radical expressions? Find out in this video. Good day, learners! Today we're going to discuss simplifying radical expressions. So, when can we say that a radical is in its simplest form? So, a radical is in its simplest form when there is no perfect nth power in the radicand when the index is n. And letter B, there is no radical in the denominator or a fraction in the radicand. And C, the index is the lowest possible index. So just to recap, we have 4 laws of radicals that we're going to use in order to simplify radical expressions. Number 1 is the nth root of x raised to n is equal to x. Number 2 is our product rule for radicals. The nth root of xy is equal to the nth root of x times the nth root of y. Third, we have the quotient rule for radicals. The nth root of x divided by y is equal to the nth root of x over the nth root of y. And lastly, we have the nth root of n of x is equal to m times nth root of x, or it could also be written as the nth root of the mth root of x. And we also have to take note of this one. If n is odd, then the nth root of x raised to n is equal to x. And if n is even, then the nth root of x raised to n is equal to the absolute value of x. So again, we're going to use the laws of radicals in order for us to simplify these following radical expressions. Right? Let's have number 1. The square root of 16 would be equal to 4. So yung sagot natin dito would be the principal root only. So as we know, if we're going to get the nth root of x raised to n, where n is even, then our answer would be the absolute value of x. So, hindi natin i-consider yung negative 4. So, yung answer lang natin dito would be positive 4. How about number 2? So, the cube root of 8 is equal to 2. So, bakit naging 2? Kasi if we're going to multiply 2 by itself 3 times, we're going to get 8. So, that is 2 times 2 times 2. Next, we have square root of 49. So, itong square root of yung 49 is a perfect square, so wala tayong problema. So, that would be equal to 7. Now, how about if we have square root of 36 all over 81? So, pwede natin siyang i-separate kasi hindi natin pwede ma-divide si 36 by 81. So, using yung division rule natin, we have square root of 36 over square root of 81. And the numerator and denominator are both perfect squares. So, pwede natin yung i-extract. Ang square root ng 36 ay 6. At ang square root naman ng 81 is 9. So, we have the fraction 6 over 9. And pwede pa natin siyang lowest term. So, ano yung pwedeng ma-divide natin sa 6 and 9? That would be 3. Okay. So, 6 divided by 3, hindi ko na lang ipapakita. Diretso na sagot. So, 6 divided by 3 is 2. And 9 divided by 3 is equal to 3. So, the final answer is 2 over 3. Number 5, we have the square root of 45. So, same sa na-discuss natin sa previous na topic, pag hindi perfect square yung given, then we're going to think of 2 factors in which yung isa is a perfect square, yung isa naman ay hindi. And make sure na yung isa na perfect square would be the highest perfect square na factor ng given natin. So, ang factors ng 45 would be 9 times 5. Okay? So, yung 9 natin is perfect square while 5 is not a perfect square. So, ang gagamitin natin dito would be the product rule. Pwede natin silang iniwalay o pwede na rin na shortcut yung process natin. So, just to recap, if we're going to separate them, that would be equal to the square root of 9 times the square root of 5. So yung ma-extract lang natin dito would be yung 9 kasi ang 9 ay perfect square. So ano yung square root ng 9? That would be equal to 3 and 5 will remain as radical dun sa radical sign natin. So the final answer is 3 times square root of 5 or 3 square root of 5. Next, number 12. So same lang sa number 5. Product rule pa rin. Hanap tayo ng dalawang factors ni 12. So we can have 6 times 2, 1 times 12, and 4 times 3. Pero, dun sa 3 factors na yun, yung 4 times 3 lang ang pwede kasi ang isa sa kanila is a perfect square, which is 4. So, we have 4 times 3. So, we can extract this one. Pwede na natin hindi gayahin ito. Pwede tayong mag-shortcut. So, square root of 4 is 2. So, may extract natin siya. Then, matitira si 3 kasi 3 is not a perfect square. Next, we have the cube root of 32. So, kung kanina, we are thinking of factors na yung isa perfect square, dito naman, since we're looking for the cube root, hahanap tayo ng factors ni 32 na kung saan yung isa is a perfect cube. Okay, so ano yung mga factors niya? It would be 8 times 4. Okay, bakit 8 times 4? 8 times 4 is 32, and at the same time, 8 is a perfect cube. Okay. So, i-extract natin si 8 kasi perfect cube siya. The cube root of 8 is equal to 2. Ang matitira na lang would be 4 sa radical natin. Don't forget, yung index natin is 2 times the cube root of 4. Number 8, we have the square root of x raised to 7. So, same lang yung gagawin natin pag variables yung given. Hahanap ulit tayo ng factors. Madali lang siya kasi we make sure yung isang factor would have an even exponent. Okay? Yung pinakamataas na or pinakamalaki na even exponent. So, that would be x raised to 6 times x. Right? Kasi if we're going to multiply them, their exponents will be added. So, 6 plus 1, magiging 7. Okay? So, sa dalawa, ang perfect square lang ay si x raised to 6. Okay. So, we can extract x raised to 6. So, again, if we're going to extract or get the square root of variable with an exponent, all we need to do, i-divide lang natin yung exponent by 2. Kasi yung index natin sa square root is automatic na 2. So that would be 6 divided by 2, it would be equal to 3. So, yung square root ng x raised to 6 would be x cubed times x. So x na yung matitira dito because x is not a perfect square. Next, number 9, we have 2x times the square root of 12x raised to 5, y raised to 15. Okay, so we're going to work dito sa radical natin. So dito muna, uunahin muna natin yung numerical coefficient na 12. So hanap ulit tayo ng factors na kung saan yung isa is perfect square, yung isa naman ay hindi. Yung factors ni 12 would be 4 and 3. So we have 4 times 3. So, nilagyan ko lang ng space kasi same rin yung gagawin natin sa mga variables. Now, how about x raised to 5? So, sa x raised to 5, yung factors niya would be x raised to 4 and x. So, mapapansin nyo, sinulat ko as one group yung mga perfect square at another group naman yung hindi perfect square na mga factors. So, x raised to 4 times x is of course x raised to 5. Right? Next, sa y raised to 15 naman, ano yung mga factors niya? So, ang highest na even na exponent niya would be 14. So, matitira dito would be y. Okay? So, we have 2x times the square root of 4x raised to 4y raised to 14 times 3xy. Okay. Then, we're going to extract. Now, since may coefficient na tayo dito sa labas ng ating radical sign, so, kung ano man yung sagot natin dito or may extract natin, we're going to multiply it sa coefficient na nasa labas. or yung term na nasa labas. So we have, lalagay na natin sa parentheses, 4, anong square root ng 4? That is 2. Ang square root ng x raised to 4 is x squared. Okay, bakit naging x squared? 4 divided by 2 is 2, kaya naging 2 na lang yung exponent niya. And we have y raised to 14. Yung square root naman niya is y raised to 7. Kasi 14 divided by 2 is equal to 7. Then, square root of, yung matitira would be this one. So, 3xy. So, the final answer, kailangan pa natin multiply si 2x dito sa na-extract natin na root. So, you have 2 times 2, that is 4. X times x squared, that is x cubed. Okay? Kasi may 1 dito na exponent. So, i-add lang natin yung exponents nila. Then, y raised to 7 times 3xy. And this would be our final answer. Now, how about the last example? We have 5 times the square root of 32a cubed b raised to 5. So, same lang ng ginawa natin sa number 9. So, isusulat natin ulit, 5. Yung factors ni 32 would be 16 and 2. Right? So, 16 times 2 is 32. How about sa a cubed? So, yung sa a cubed naman, we have a squared and a. Diba? So, a squared times a, that would be equal to a cubed. So, lagay muna natin ng konting space kasi may b raised to 5 pa tayo. So, we have sa b raised to 5 naman, yung factors niya would be b raised to 4 times b. Again, hiniwalay natin yung mga perfect squares sa factors na hindi perfect square. So, we have 5 times, extract natin yung square root ng 16a squared b raised to 4. So, square root of 16 is 4. Square root of a squared is a. Square root of b raised to 4 is b squared. So, matitira na lang sa radicand would be a, b. So, simplify lang natin. 5 times 4ab squared, that is equal to 20ab squared times ab. Not all the time we can simplify the radical expressions using yung mga examples na binanggit ko kanina. So there are times na sa denominator, we have a radical expression. So in this case, how are we going to get rid of that radical expression? So we're going to rationalize it. So we're going to discuss now rationalizing radical expressions. Radical is not considered simplified if there is a radical sign in the denominator. The process of rewriting the quotient so that the denominator contains no nth root is called rationalizing the denominator. This time, we're going to simplify still radical expressions. But there are radical expressions na kailangan nating i-rationalize. So gaya ng sinabi natin kanina, pag sinabi nating rationalize, we are making sure na walang radical sa denominator natin. So it is simply rewriting our radical expressions. So paano ba natin to gagawin? Halimbawa, we have the square root of 5 divided by square root of 2. Now, we cannot anymore simplify square root of 5 and square root of 2 because 5 and 2 are not perfect squares. Pero, hindi pa rin natin siya matatawag na simplify yung answer natin kasi nga merong radical expression sa denominator niya in which ito ay bawal. So, paano natin matatanggal yung radical expression sa denominator? So, we're going to rationalize. In rationalizing, we're going to multiply both the numerator and the denominator by the denominator. Okay. So, ito yung mangyayari. We have square root of 5 over square root of 2. Then, i-multiply natin yung numerator and denominator sa given denominator. Okay? So, we have square root of 5 over square root of 2 times square root of 2 all over square root of 2. And we're going to multiply now. Again, if we're going to multiply radical expressions, all you need to do is to multiply directly their radicand. Given na same yung index nila. So we have square root of 5 times 2, that is equal to 10. So sa baba naman, we have square root of 2 times square root of 2. So that would be equal to 4. Right? So square root of 10 is not a perfect square, so it will remain square root of 10. And yung mga factors din niya, wala na mga perfect squares. However, sa baba, sa denominator natin, 4 is a perfect square. So we're going to get the square root of 4. Ang square root ng 4 is 2. And this would be our final answer. So kung mapapansin niyo, wala ng radical sa denominator natin. Then this would be the simplified form of our radical expression. Okay, next we have 8 over cube root of 3. So again, since my radical expression sa denominator niya, then we're going to multiply yung numerator and denominator by square root of 3. Okay, susulat ulit. So you have 8 over square root of 3. So that would be multiplied sa square root of 3 and square root of 3 din sa denominator natin. So since number lang or constant, if we're going to multiply it sa radical expression, all you need to do is to multiply 8 by the coefficient of square root of 3. Yung square root of 3, yung coefficient niya dito is 1. Okay? So magiging 8 times 1, that would be equal to 8. So it will be written as a square root of 3. And sa denominator naman, we have square root of 9. So we have 8 square root of 3 over, yung square root of 9 naman natin is 3. So the final answer is 8 square root of 3 all over 3. Now kung mapapansin ninyo, yung answer natin sa denominator is just the radicand or equal sa radicand. Right? So pwede rin natin siyang shortcut kasi if you're going to multiply square root of 3 by square root of 3, it simply means, so again, if we're going to multiply it, it means we have square root of 3 raised to 2. Right? Then gaya ng sinabi natin sa law number 1, if same yung index at yung exponent ng given natin, then the answer would be equal to our radicand. So the answer here is 3. Okay? So pwede natin siyang shortcut. Pwede natin siyang daanan, then the answer is automatically equal to 3 or equal to its radicand. Next, we have 4 over square root of x. So that would be 4 over square root of x times square root of x over square root of x. Okay. So, multiply lang natin 4 times square root of x, that is 4 square root of x, divided by square root of x times square root of x, that is x squared. So, yung final answer natin would be 4 times square root of x all over x. Kasi yung x squared, yung square root niya would be x. Final example, we have 2 over the cube root of 5 times the cube root of... Now, ano yung kailangan natin i-multiply dito? Okay? Since we're looking for the cube root later on, so we make sure na yung product ng radicand would be a perfect cube. Okay? So kung papansinin natin, kung 5 lang yung gagawin ko or cube root of 5 lang yung ilalagay ko, then the answer will become 25. And we all know na yung 25 is not a perfect cube. So again, magiging ganito siya, cube root of 25. Kasi nga, 5 times 5 is 25. So we cannot extract this one because 25, hindi siya perfect cube. So ibig sabihin, hindi dapat 5 or cube root of 5 yung i-multiply ko. So kailangan ko pa mag-isip ng exponent ng 5 na kung saan pag i-multiply ko na siya dito sa original natin na cube root of 5, it will become a perfect cube. So ano kaya yung kailangan natin i-multiply? It will be 5 squared. Okay? Bakit magiging 5 squared? So if you're going to multiply 5 and 5 squared, it will become 5 cubed. Right? which is a perfect cube. Tama? So, i-make sure natin na yung radical natin is perfect cube, or depende kung ano yung index na nakalagay dito. Kung kanina, perfect square dapat, dito naman, since we're looking for cube root, so dapat perfect cube siya. So, we have cube root of 5 squared. And, simplify it. So, multiply lang natin. So, 2 times cube root of 5 squared, we have 2 times the cube root of 5 squared is 5 times 5. So, you have 25. Sa denominator naman, we have cube root of 5 squared times 5. Copy the base na 5. I-add natin yung exponents nila. We have 2 plus 1. So, magiging 3. Then, the final answer would be 2 times the cube root of 25 all over. So, perfect cube na yung 5 cube natin na radical. So, cube root of 5 cube would be equal to 5. Mapapansin natin, wala nang radical sign or radical expression sa denominator natin. Then, this would be our final answer. Now, this time, we're going to have another condition. So, there are times that the denominator contains a binomial radical expression. In this case, we need to multiply the numerator and denominator by the conjugate of the denominator. A conjugate is the same binomial term but with the sign in the middle change. So, suppose we have 3 plus square root of 2. So, ano yung magiging conjugate nito? So, yung 3 plus square root of 2, yung conjugate niya would be 3 minus square root of 2. So, kung mapapansin natin, same lang sila ng term. We have 3 and square root of 2. Ang kaibahan lang nila would be yung operation sa gitna ng bawat term. So, kung ang given natin is positive, yung conjugate niya would be negative. Next example, we have square root of 4 minus 3. So, ano yung magiging conjugate nito? So, ang conjugate niya would be square root of 4 plus 3. Now, we're going to use conjugate in simplifying these radical expressions. So, again, sa conjugate, yung sa denominator would be a binomial expression niya. Ibig sabihin, meron na tayong dalawang term. So, gagamitan lang natin siya ng conjugate para yung sa denominator wala ng radical expression. So, we have 4 over square root of 7 plus 3. So, gaya lang ng ginawa natin kanina sa rationalizing, we're going to multiply the numerator and the denominator by the conjugate of our denominator. So, ano yung conjugate ng square root of 7 plus 3? So, dapat same lang ng terms, pero opposite yung sign na nasa gitna. So, it will become square root of 7 minus 3. So, same din yung imumultiply natin sa denominator. Next, we're going to distribute yung 4 dito sa binomial expression natin. So, it will become 4 times the quantity of 7 minus the quantity of square root of 7 minus 3. Sa denominator naman natin, we have square root of 7 minus 3 times, or plus 3, times the square root of 7 minus 3. So, distribution property yung gagamitin natin sa numerator. So, we have 4 times square root of 7, that is 4 square root of 7. 4 times negative 3, that is negative 12. Then, sa denominator naman natin, pwede tayong gumamit ng FOIL method. Unahin mo natin itong 7 at saka 7. Square root of 7 times square root of 7. So, si square root of 7 muna yung i-distribute natin. It will become square root of 49. Square root of 7 times negative 3, that is equal to negative 3 times square root of 7. Right? Kasi ito siya is a constant multiplied sa radical. So, i-multiply or magiging coefficient lang si negative 3 ni square root of 7. Next would be positive 3. So, 3 times square root of 7, that is positive 3 square root of 7. And 3 times negative 3, that is equal to negative 9. Then, we're going to simplify it. So, ilalagay ko lang dito. We have 4 square root of 7 minus 12 all over. So, square root of 49 is 7. And, as you can see, additive inverse itong dalawa. So, negative square root of 7, negative 3 square root of 7 plus 3 square root of 7 would be equal to 0. So, magiging 0 na sila. Tama? Then, ikukopyahin lang natin yung minus 9 or negative 9. Simplify again natin. We have 4 square root of 7 minus 12 all over negative 2. Okay? Kasi 7 minus 9 is equal to negative 2. Then, we're going to extract yung factors. Kung mapapansin natin, may common factors sila na 2. Right? So, we're going to have 2 times yung factor na matitira sa numerator natin. But then again, yung denominator natin is negative 2. So, instead of factoring out yung positive 2, we're going to factor out negative 2. So, kung negative 2 yung ipa-factor out natin, ang matitira sa 4 square root of 7 would be negative 2 square root of 7. Right? So, bakit di naging ganito? Kasi if we're going to multiply them, negative 2 times negative 2 square root of 7, mababalik natin sa 4, sa positive 4 square root of 7. Next, how about sa negative 12? If we're going to extract negative 2 sa negative 12, ang matitira na lang would be positive 6. Okay, naging positive siya kasi pag in-multiply natin yung negative 2 at saka positive 6, mababalik siya sa original na negative 2. Okay, so careful lang tayo dun sa mga signs. Next, we have negative 2 sa denominator natin. Then we can divide negative 2 by negative 2. Or pwede natin siya i-cancel. So it will become 1 or positive 1. So the final answer would be negative 2 square root of 7 plus 6. Next example, we have square root of 2 plus square root of 3 all over square root of 5 minus square root of 6. So, i-multiply lang natin siya gamit yung conjugate ng denominator natin. So we have square root of 2 plus square root of 3 all over square root of 5 minus square root of 6 times square root of 5 plus square root of 6. So yung conjugate ng square root of 5 minus square root of 6 natin would be square root of 5 plus square root of 6. So yung symbols nila o yung operation nila sa gitna is opposite. Same din sa denominator. We have square root of 5 plus square root of 6. So wala nang space dito. Dito na lang ako sa baba. Multiply natin. So it will become square root of 2 plus square root of 3. So medyo mahaba ito. So you make sure na iisa-isahin natin sila para hindi tayo malito. Same lang yung ginawa natin kanina. We're going to make use of the FOIL method. So, sa denominator naman, we have square root of 5 minus square root of 6 times square root of 5 plus square root of 6. Now, kung mapapansin natin sa denominator, gaya ng ginawa natin sa number 1, meron tayong shortcut na pwedeng gawin. So, kung mapapansin natin, this is, based sa factoring, this is sum and difference of two squares. Right? Ibig sabihin, yung answer nila would be the square of the first term minus the square of the second term. Right? Okay, so i-apply natin yan later para tingnan natin kung tama ba yung sagot natin. So, stick muna tayo sa FOIL method. So, we have square root of 2 times square root of 5, that is square root of 10. Square root of 2 times square root of 6, that is positive square root of 12. Next is 3. Square root of 3 times square root of 5, that is positive square root of 15. Square root of 3 times square root of 6, that is positive square root of 18. All over, we have here square root of 5 times square root of 5, that is square root of 25. Then, we have square root of 5 times square root of 6, that is positive square root of 30. Negative square root of 6 times square root of 5, that is negative square root of 30. Then, negative square root of 6 times positive square root of 6, that is negative square root of 36. Right? Simplify natin. So, hindi na natin masisimplify yung sa numerator except for 18. Kasi yung 18, may factor siya na 9 and 2. In which yung 9 is a perfect square. So, it will become square root of 10 plus square root of 12 plus, also 12. Okay? So, si 12 may factors din siya na 4 and 3. So, we have square root of 4 times 3. Wala na tayong space masyado. 15 plus square root of 9 times 2. Sa denominator naman natin, these are additive inverse. So, si positive 30 and negative 30 would be cancelled out. Magiging equal to 0. And square root of 25 is 5. Square root of 36 is 6. So, may negative sa labas. So, magiging negative 6. Okay. Let's continue. So, sa taas, we have, or sa numerator natin, we have square root of 10 plus, extract natin si 4, magiging 2. So, 2 cube, or 2 square root of 3 plus square root of 15 plus square root of 9 is 3. So, may extract natin siya, magiging 3 square root of 2. Then, sa baba naman, we have negative 1. So, it could be the final answer. Pwede rin ganito, or pwede rin natin multiply yung whole numerator natin by negative 1. So, pag i-multiply natin siya ng negative 1, lahat ng operations or signs natin sa numerator will change. So, the final answer would be negative square root of 10 minus 2 square root of 3 minus square root of 15 minus 3 square root of 2. Now, gaya ng sabi ko kanina, sa example number 1 and example number 2, yung shortcut natin sa denominator would be using factoring na sum and difference of two squares. Halimbawa, sa number 1, we have the quantity of square root of 7 plus 3 times the quantity of square root of 7 minus 3. So, kung mapapansin natin, we can apply here the sum and difference of two squares. So, the sum and difference of two squares, it is in the form a plus b times the quantity a minus b, it would be equal to a squared minus b squared. So, since itong a plus b at a minus b, ito yung nasa denominator natin, so pwede natin i-shortcut yung bawat terms natin. All we need to do is to square each term. So, yung first term natin na square root of 7, we're going to square that one, minus yung square naman ng second term natin na 3. So, magiging square root of 7 raised to 2. So, again, applying yung law number 1 natin, we can cancel square root and 2. So, yung matitira na lang is 7. Minus yung second term naman natin, 3 squared, that would be equal to 9. So, ibig sabihin nito, we have the same answer na 7 minus 9. So, pwede natin siyang gawing shortcut. Same din sa number 2. Sa number 2, we have the quantity of square root of 5 minus square root of 6 times the quantity of square root of 5 plus square root of 6. So again, using the sum and difference of two squares, all we need to do is to square the first term, na square root of 5. So magiging square root of 5 squared minus, so minus all the time dito. Then, the second term, yung square naman ng second term. So, the square of the second term is square root of 6 raised to 2. Right? So, pwede natin siyang i-shortcut. Square root of 5 raised to 2. Yung square root natin at saka 2 will be cancelled out since equal or same lang yung index at yung exponent. So, yung answer natin is 5. Sa kabila naman, we have minus square root of 6 raised to 2, magiging 6 na lang. Right? So again, ginamit natin dito yung law number 1 natin sa radicals. And same lang yung nakuha natin kanina na denominator na 5 minus 6. Now it's your turn. Try to answer the following questions. And that's a wrap. Please do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel, Sir Ninyo. And you can also post your math problems in the comment section, and we will do our very best to provide solution to your questions. Because remember, every problem has a solution, at kung math ang problema ninyo, ako ang kaagapay ninyo, ako ang Sir Ninyo.